Coming up next, how you can accelerate innovation, reduce costs, and increase business agility in the market.
Don't panic. I'm you. I came back from the future to say thank you. You're welcome. You chose the right cloud solution. When you needed to manage applications across your private and public clouds, you were ready. I was.
Choose Microsoft Private Cloud Solutions. Built for the future. Ready now.
Time's up.
Definitely, but I think that... You know what? Let me call you back. Hey, you. It's me. You from the future. We need to talk private cloud. Oh. You want to see inside your apps, right? Yes. Spot and fix problems? Yeah. Then you gotta go beyond virtualization. Today.
Choose Microsoft Private Cloud Solutions. Built for the future. Ready now.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
What? No. No.
I know, it's crazy. Calm down. I'm you, with a message from the future.
The future?
Over the next 2 years, you're gonna have to double your capacity.
That sounds expensive.
Go with the private cloud solution that doesn't charge per VM.
That sounds smart.
Choose Microsoft Private Cloud Solutions. Built for the future. Ready now.
Like that suit.
Want one? You got one.
Oh.
Hello and welcome. Today we're here to discuss one of the biggest transformations in the business and technology world today, cloud computing. Not just a new way to do old things, but rather a new way to accomplish new things. Cloud computing is changing the way we think about IT. It's changing the way we do IT. But what does this really mean? Beyond helping companies become more agile and innovative, cloud computing is economical, driving efficiencies in both costs and utilization. Clearly, a lot of opportunity, but like any other major transformation, it also raises many questions, which is why we're here today. Hello, I'm Christine Chen, your host for our virtual event. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here to help explore the opportunities with cloud computing. We're going to hear from Microsoft executives, customers, and key partners. We're also going to focus on private cloud and reveal some pretty exciting news. So let me fill you in on today's agenda. We have with us today the President of Server and Tools Business, Satya Nadella, and Corporate Vice President of Management and Security, Brad Anderson. They're going to be telling us about Microsoft's cloud computing strategy, including private cloud announcements. We will hear from customers who are making the move to private cloud right now. And coming up, we'll have a panel discussion with Brad, Microsoft IT Vice President Jackie Wright, and Chief Executive Officer with Convergent Computing, Rand Morimoto. Let's talk about the opportunities and considerations, shall we, with private cloud computing. And finally, you're going to get to experience the Microsoft Private Cloud in action through the Microsoft Technology Center. Now, a couple of quick housekeeping items. To help you get the very most out of this event, we've gathered a group of Microsoft subject matter experts in our chat room. They're going to be online throughout the entire virtual event to answer any questions you might have. So just log into the chat room, fire away. Anything you want to ask, promise they're going to get to you. You can also follow us on Twitter at MSF Team Enterprise, at Microsoft Enterprise, and hashtag is Microsoft Private Cloud, MSFT Private Cloud. We'd love to hear your feedback via Twitter on the event today, and at any time, please click the link below to complete the evaluation for a chance to win Xbox 360 Connect. Finally, this entire virtual event will be available on demand right here, right after the event wraps. So, let's get this thing started. Let's dig in. We are honored to have two leaders in this space right here at Microsoft. Satya Nadella. He's responsible for overall business and vision for Microsoft's $17 billion servers and tools business. And we have Brad Anderson, leader of the global team tasked with helping organizations reduce costs and drive business forward. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much for being here. This is exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's start with you, Satya. What is this transformation all about? Let's really just chat about it for just a moment.
super exciting time. If you think about the infrastructure business, really it's driven by applications. So we are going through this massive sea change in terms of the applications that our customers are building.
Just a big shift in the industry.
A big shift
really.
from client-server to this world of continuous services and connected devices. So that's how we characterize these new kinds of applications. And you can see it with the proliferation of devices, PCs, slates, smartphones, embedded systems, all of these sensors all over the world that are connected. So that requires a new kind of infrastructure on the back end to be able to run these applications and services that sort of service all of these devices.
I think that you make a very important point when you say the word connected. It's expected now that everything syncs together and everything works harmoniously and orchestrated well. Is that correct?
No, absolutely. And
it's the way to do business.
And you have to really get the infrastructure right that is enabling you to build out the services that are continuously available, if you will. And drive home some of the benefits of this new infrastructure. So that's where the cloud design point. So today we're talking about the private cloud, and this is really reflects a huge change from, or a step forward from virtualization to the next level. To be able to enable a business to be much more focused about their applications, be much more agile in terms of how they can scale their infrastructure, and then, of course, get the operational and economic benefits that they really are looking to.
Right, and moving toward the future, always important with IT. Well, in that context, I understand you have some pretty significant news to share.
Absolutely. Today is a big, big day for us when it comes to private cloud and System Center.
Tell us more.
System Center is really the cornerstone product for us, along with Windows Server, when it comes to enabling our customers to build out their private cloud. So today, we're announcing the availability of System Center 2012 release candidate. We already have many customers who have deployed over 100,000 virtual machines using our early access releases. But today, we're pleased to get the release candidate out and enable the next wave of private cloud building by our customers.
Yeah.
And this product itself is a major step forward. It represents the coming together of 8 products into one suite. We've also taken an approach where we think about the application first, because when you talk about infrastructure, really you're not building infrastructure in isolation, you're building it in support of your application needs. And really System Center 2012 is all about the application and the application needs and the ability of the IT professional to be able to look inside the application.
Yeah, so this enhancement, this moving in this direction, pretty exciting, but I think this might still be a little bit intimidating to some. Cloud computing is still a direction that people are really moving, some moving more slowly, some moving more quickly. What challenges are you hearing from customers as they consider cloud computing?
You know, more than challenges, one of the key things that our customers are really looking to get out of their infrastructure is the ability to scale it to meet their demands. If you think about this proliferation of devices we talked about, or the proliferation of applications, the key challenge really is about being able to keep up. So if you look at even what has happened in the beta releases of our products, System Center 2012 has been deployed by a variety of our customers. In fact, T. Rowe Price, a big investment firm, Lufthansa Systems, and Unilever are great examples of people who have taken System Center and built out this private cloud.
And we're going to see those stories a little
Absolutely.
bit later,
And the unprecedented, I mean, T. Rowe Price, for example, is projecting something like 25% growth in their server infrastructure. And the only way to keep up with that kind of growth is to be able to deploy new systems that enable you to scale without really the operational issues or the complexities.
This is a major shift, so I'd like to bring Brad into this conversation. What exactly does this mean? I mean, he laid out a little bit of the case here for making this move, but what does this really mean for IT professionals all across the country and around the globe?
Yeah, you know, one of the interesting things about how we designed and built System Center 2012 was we had what I would say is the most fertile ground of anywhere in the world to go learn. You know, at Microsoft, we operate many of the world's largest services. You know, think about Bing and Hotmail and Communicator, all these services. So as we were defining it, we spent time in there, and we saw some really fascinating things that we do in our cloud services, and we wanted to bring that to the private cloud to IT. You know, one of the data points that I really like to kind of dive into when I meet with customers is I like to get this understanding of how many servers they have, how many full-time employees they have, and it gives me kind of a ratio. I can kind of get an idea of how efficient and how effective they are. And, you know, in corporate IT, in the enterprise, I generally see this ratio of kind of through 30 or 40 to 1, 30 or 40 servers to 1 full-time employee. In our cloud services, we literally see like 3,000 or 4,000 to 1. So the challenge we set out on is, how do we take the learnings from our services and bring that to the private cloud? That was our target. Now, many people will ask me, what's the difference between virtualization and cloud?
This is a question I was just about to ask you, because a lot of people will say, well, what's the difference? Why is this not just virtualization? Because we're doing that already.
You know, Satya talked about, what's happening in the architecture of the applications. But as I think about that change and that move from virtualization to management, or to cloud, I think about as great virtualization coupled with great management. And that's what System Center 2012 is all about. So we've taken these 8 applicators, these 8 different services, these 8 different products, brought it to one, not only from the technology perspective, but in our licensing and our packaging and our pricing, got that out in a way that's just super easy to now acquire, to deploy, and use. And what that enables is organizations to focus on the application. Our private cloud is an application-driven private cloud. And like Satya mentioned, you deploy infrastructure to host applications. But the other really key differentiator for us is we designed System Center 2012 from the ground up to enable the use of hybrid clouds. We know most organizations are going to be consuming multiple clouds. Clouds running in their data centers, in a partner data centers, in Microsoft's data centers. And they want one consistent, one holistic way to be able to look at all of that and manage their applications and services across all those clouds.
Because what a nightmare it would be to have to manage all those.
That's right.
Separately.
And so with System Center, you get that one thing. So one place, look at your private cloud, your public cloud. But not only that, you can take a look at different virtualization infrastructures, whether it be from Microsoft or from VMware or from Zen Server, and all that gets brought up in one consistent view through System Center 2012.
So, Brad, would you give me, paint a picture, if you would, for me, of the type of business and where they are currently in their business that would be really well suited to move in this direction?
Sure. One thing we believe is that every organization is going to have its own unique journey to the cloud. And based upon what their needs are, and maybe they're subject to different regulatory compliances, they'll have their own unique journey. What we see a lot of right now is organizations taking and moving, for example, their front end of their services to the cloud, but then keeping their database or some of the data behind their own private, in their private clouds and their firewalls. We can enable all that through System Center. It's architected from the ground up to do that. We see organizations making that shift from virtualization to cloud, but now they have the challenge of managing cloud, their virtualized infrastructure, and they got a lot of physical servers still. All that comes together in one place in System Center, and it's a consistent, unified experience. It really delivers what customers need.
All right, that sounds good. So, Satya, as the president of the server and tools business, you're at the center of how Microsoft is approaching cloud computing, clearly. So what is your team focused on? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Our overall vision is to cloud optimize every business. So that means we want to build a platform that we've historically done with our server products, but build them now for this new design point, which is the cloud design point, and build it as a comprehensive platform that speaks to the realities of our customers. And Brad described how it's a journey. People want to have infrastructure inside their own clouds, so private clouds. People want to be able to even consume services from a public cloud. So we're building a comprehensive platform, which is this public plus private cloud infrastructure. And we're very focused on 4 commonalities between the public and private cloud. One is identity. So any application that you want to deploy, you really want to have common identity across. The other one is virtualization. You want to be able to move a virtual machine between public and private. Application development frameworks and models so that you can deploy on the private or public, or in many cases, in fact, the reality is hybrid. So you want to be able to even take one application, and Brad talked a little bit about it, and split it. So the data is inside the private cloud, maybe the public facing or the device facing is on the private cloud. So some of those things are sort of things that our customers are doing. The last one is management. The notion that having a single pane of glass that allows you to manage your infrastructure inside your enterprise with a private cloud, in your data center, outside in a public cloud, or in other service providers. So that's really our strategy of enabling the realities of hybrid IT through a comprehensive platform that spans public and private.
Well, you used the word journey, and I think Brad did as well. This is a learning process as people make this journey, right? So Do people already understand the difference between private and public cloud? And how important is it to really understand that distinction in order to move in this direction pretty efficiently and quickly?
Absolutely. See, one of the things that Brad started talking about is we've learned a lot by running our own clouds. So if you think about it, what we've done with Xbox
Yes.
Live, Bing, in the consumer side, and Office 365, and even Windows Azure. Windows Azure runs on Windows Server today. So we're constantly learning about this new design point. What does it mean to scale infrastructure from storage and the compute and the network for these workloads? Taking that learning and embodying that in our management software with System Center, embodying it in our Windows Server products, that's really what we are trying to do. And you can't head fake your way into it, because if you're not using your products to run these cloud infrastructures at internet scale, you're never going to be able to build the right infrastructure to enable private clouds. So that, I think, is sort of the key thing we are very focused on. And customers, really, when we talk to them, what they want is a reliable infrastructure that gives them the ability to focus on their application needs versus worry about the availability of infrastructure or the ability for it to scale, and then get the operational and economic benefits.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, too, because, you know, this idea of like just sort of MacGyvering or jerry-rigging your servers and your systems and your people, it's just going to have a gap later on that's going to cause you problems, right? So this idea of management, Brad, back to you, and adding this idea of planning ahead for the management. Do you want to add on to what Satya just said?
You know, one of the things that Satya has driven very hard through the organization is this notion of the design point for everything we build is the public cloud. One of the reasons why that's so important is if you design for the scale and the security of the public cloud, it's a lot easier to bring that to the private cloud than if you're, trying to do a design point that's much smaller than try to scale it up. So everything we do is really positioned at making sure that we scale and we're, secure at the largest possible scale possible, and then we bring that to the private cloud. There are certain things you can only learn by doing. And it's a remarkable environment to work in where, we have these public cloud services and infrastructure, and our developers are the ones who are getting woken up in the middle of the night if there's a problem. And I'll tell you, there's no substitute for that. There is no substitute
They're living
for that.
it. They're breathing it.
That's right. And so because they're living and breathing that, I can guarantee that what gets built is far more scalable, far more secure, far more reliable than if they weren't living that.
Yeah, because they know what it feels like to be in that situation,
right.
because they've been through it.
Again, no substitute
been there, done
for
that,
experience.
right? All right.
Now, this public cloud design point, we've also taken that into our packaging and pricing. I just want to talk about that for a minute because it is very substantial. We're talking about all these benefits in terms of our knowledge of the application and the hybrid cloud, but we're doing it at an economic model that is just unparalleled in the industry. And so we've simplified the packaging and pricing. We've taken what was 8 separate SKUs, and we've reduced it to 2. And it's now as simple for a customer as saying, is it a physical server? Okay, you buy a System Center Standard. Is it a virtualized server or a cloud server? You buy a System Center Data Center. It's the same capabilities in both products. The only thing that's different is the number of OS or VMs that you're authorized to manage. And here's what's significant. With our Data Center version, you have the ability to manage unlimited VMs per server. And so you can scale your use of virtualization, you can scale the density, and your costs stay the same. Our competitors don't do that.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you, I just want to bring this kind of home in a very personal way. It was really interesting as we were kind of working through all the details and getting ready for this. I got one of these emails, it was literally last Wednesday, from AT&T, where one of my teenage daughters had overrun her data plan. I mean, not by a megabyte or two, 300 megabytes over the plan. Okay.
That is real.
So I'm talking to my daughter,
That's a real cost.
what are you doing? Because my cost just went up.
Did you say that to her? My cost just went up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and so organizations, IT wants the same thing with their virtualization and cloud. They want to have unlimited rights to scale their use and have their costs be predictable. That's one of the promises of the cloud, predictability. So in the same way that I want an all-you-can-eat data plan, I want an all-you-can-eat virtualization and private cloud solution, and we've packaged and priced that way.
All right, that sounds good. Well, I know that there's people who are listening, and they especially heard your story about this control and management and being able to just know what to expect and having it be easy. That being said, what if someone says, okay, I'm in, now what? What do you do?
I mean, I would say there are two real things that everyone should take away from this. One is they should do an assessment of their infrastructure needs. As we are talking to customers, I think many of them are looking at how should they scale their infrastructure to meet the needs of their application. So that assessment and having a strategy for it is perhaps the most important thing. In that context, I would say with the announcement today, with the availability of System Center 2012, we would really encourage them to evaluate this product and see how it fits their strategy as they scale out their infrastructure.
And this assessment will reveal a lot, and you spoke about it a little bit earlier, to see where you are, how many people are you dealing with.
Yeah, we've simplified this significantly. You know, for example, we've taken these 8 products, and there's now a unified setup that literally, if you want to go do a proof of concept or put stuff in a lab, you know, it's just like you answer a couple of questions, and then the system goes and builds an entire private cloud for you with all these technologies integrated. You know, one of the other things that I commonly will also hear is, tell me about other organizations that are using this at scale. So let me just give you a couple of data points. T. Rowe Price today is using the beta of System Center 2012 and has built a private cloud throughout all their data centers that they're using to now deploy, and they're going to use that to also then integrate with the public cloud. 2 more examples. Lufthansa, you know, one of the world's most recognized airlines, you know, operating in 16 different countries, today has a private cloud on Windows Server and System Center with more than 1,500 VMs in that private cloud, so running at scale in a distributed environment. And then finally, Unilever. Unilever, you know, and again, one of the most well-known brands in the world, over 2,000 VMs in their private cloud based on System Center and Windows Server. And they've got a very unique goal, which is to double their business without increasing their environmental impact at all. And they're going to use the Microsoft private cloud infrastructure to do that. That's one of the key portions of their strategy. So large organizations using it today, running at scale. And as Satya mentioned, with the beta bits, there are more than 100,000 servers deployed around the world in production today with the beta bits.
If you could characterize what's happening right now as maybe a final thought, what would you use? One word you would use to describe what's happening. We use the word transformation, but it's really much more than that.
Yeah, you know, so I really think it's a journey.
Yeah.
You know, I would use the word journey. And then what I would say is, you know, as the world moves from virtualization to cloud, and I talked about, you know, what that means is great management, System Center is the most commonly used tool in the world today to manage their Windows servers. And so as they're looking to make that transition from virtualization to cloud, they can do the cloud using the same tools that they're already using in System Center. So they're familiar with it. They don't have to be retrained.
A little bit of a migration, yeah?
Yeah, there is. But I think the key thing is you can continue to use the same tools that you're using today and just start to embrace the cloud. And so it's much more efficient. It's much a quicker way to get to private cloud.
Seems like people are much more comfortable with it that way, too. They don't fully make this massive leap. Then they don't know where they're going.
Yeah,
you took your word journey, so.
Yeah, I would say, you know, it's really about taking what you've done with virtualization and going beyond it. So today, if I had to sort of mark it as one of those moments where with System Center 2012, you can get on that journey of going beyond virtualization.
So yours is really, your word, if you had a final word on this, Satya, what would it be? The future?
It is really about the journey to the cloud,
Yeah.
would be my phrase at least.
Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us, gentlemen. Lots of great information this morning. Pleased to have shared it with everyone who's watching. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, still ahead, we're going to learn how Microsoft Private Cloud can help us face challenges both efficiently and effectively. And next, our expert panel discusses how companies exactly are taking advantage of Microsoft Private Cloud to increase productivity and maximize performance. But first, as you heard from Satya and Brad, customers are already using System Center 2012 for their private cloud solution. In fact, Brad just talked about T. Rowe Price. So let's break here for a quick view on how this global investment firm is doing that very thing today.
T. Rowe Price is a global investment management firm. We're committed to providing the best services to our customers, and IT is a major part of that commitment. We chose to move to a private cloud infrastructure to give us the agility to continually meet the needs of our clients. The benefits for System Center 2012 is actually twofold. One is in our ability to manage our technology, and secondly, in terms of our operating model of how we're going to manage this new environment. We're growing 25% per year, and cloud computing is our answer to make sure that we can be sustainable as we provide Windows-based solutions to our organization. Automation frees us from the repetitive tasks that an administrator has to do to maintain the environment, and now all of our tasks become more strategic instead of repetitive. The big thing for us that was very exciting to us around System Center 2012, that it gave us a platform, which is analogous to what we're going to be doing today with clouds. You're talking about fabrics, now you're talking about a management platform that can manage that fabric as a single entity. I want to operate this environment as efficiently as possible as I can for T. Rowe Price in delivering those services to our customers. I could do that now at System Center 2012. It is truly a game changer, and we're going to take full advantage of it here at T. Rowe Price.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, don't forget to join the chat room now. We have subject matter experts online to answer your questions live, and also join the conversation on Twitter at MSFT Enterprise and hashtag MSFT Private Cloud. And also, when you get a moment, please complete the event evaluation for a chance to win an Xbox 360 Kinect. So this is a global event. This is happening all over the world. Thank you for tuning in today from countries around the world: Wales, Italy, Portugal, Brazil, Dubai, South Africa, Egypt, Namibia, Canada, of course, the UK, all watching us right now. We hope to answer a lot of questions today. We're going to broaden the conversation right now with more insights from a panel of private cloud experts. Joining us now with Brad, Vice President of Strategic Enterprise Services, Jackie Wright. Hi, Jackie.
Hello, how are you?
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. And Chief Executive Officer of Convergent Computing, Rand Morimoto. Hi, Rand.
Hi, good morning.
How's it going this morning?
Wonderful, thank you.
Good. No pressure. The whole world is watching. But we've seen the strategies. We've heard the exciting news from Satya and what's next for you and the customers. I want to dig deep now. Jackie Wright oversees Microsoft IT's enterprise services and platform. Her Strategic Enterprises Service IT organization drives product and operational excellence, agility, and customer centricity across the company. Rand's company has been in business for more than 25 years and helps corporate enterprise and government organizations plan, implement, and support Microsoft's technologies. So let's really dive into customer experiences, how this is working. We saw T. Rowe Price. And Rand, what does Convergent Computing do to help organizations with cloud computing every day, and how does this experience compare with what you're seeing with your customers?
Absolutely. I mean, we're a Microsoft partner. We help organizations plan and implement these technologies, and we've been on the early adopter for System Center 2012 now for the past year and a half. And I think what you saw in the T. Rowe Price video and really their explanation of what's going on is what war customers are seeing as well. On a day-to-day basis, organizations have so many different systems that are available and things that are going on that they're trying to figure out how to be able to really save costs and decreasing the management tools and getting rid of the management systems to manage more and more things to be able to actually drive down costs and increase efficiencies.
Can you give us a couple of examples and paint the picture of the type of customer that you're seeing really benefiting from what you're describing?
Well, interestingly, we have a mix of customers. We have small, medium, and large organizations, and the whole private cloud and the management systems actually addresses all different sizes and different types of businesses. And so what we're finding for these organizations is that there's certain places, whether it's virtualization for some smaller businesses, just to decrease the hardware, or the enterprise customers that are really looking to get rid of multiple tools and consolidate. Really, the platform that Microsoft has been talking about and really what we've been implementing for the last year and a half has helped those organizations meet those goals.
And you can modify for whatever the situation is, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the great thing is that, you know, again, small, medium, large, doesn't matter what
across industry, yeah.
It's been great, and it's one of those things that has that flexibility. So it's been successful for us to be able to make things happen.
Lots of questions over concerns, or more concerns over questions?
You know, I think it's a little bit of both, from the basis that we have organizations that start off with concerns and then they fall into an area that actually things work. And then on the flip side is we have organizations that are working with the technologies and then they kind of step back and figure out how they can actually make it work better.
Sounds good. Well, Jackie, recently you just joined Microsoft IT, so welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
As a previous CIO and customer of Microsoft, is what Rand talking about similar to your experience?
Absolutely. Rand touched on it. I mean, you talk about the economic model. What are the cost components? Talk about the readiness of an organization. What are the considerations when I'm thinking private versus public? Data considerations, security, compliance. There's a whole slew of considerations when you evaluate, and lots of CIOs are taking that into consideration.
Can you dig a little deeper into these considerations? Maybe just some checkpoints for people to keep in mind when they're evaluating?
Yeah, absolutely. From a data perspective, public versus private. What are the security elements of data? Reliability, cost components. Brad touched on the cost components. Is my billing model going to change? What are the things I need to understand? How are the costs going to increase or decrease?
So this goes back to what Satya was saying earlier before the break about assessment. Really important to just see what you have going right now. This move, though, does require a shift in thinking. What do you see in that sense, Jackie?
So we're talking about the management of a hybrid ecosystem, an ecosystem where you may have a public or private environment, where you have legacy systems, applications that may sit in multiple places. How do I manage that? How do I govern? How do I consider what I put in the cloud, whether it be public or private? How do I consider how I'm going to manage moving forward in this journey?
So we're getting some questions from the chat room right now. This is coming down. Why did you combine the individual products into a single offering? So anybody want to take a stab at this?
I guess I should take
that. Yeah, you should take that, Brad, since we've been talking about that this morning.
You know, Satya talked about the design principle, and the design, where we design everything is for the public cloud. You know, a big part of the cloud is about predictability, is about simplicity, is about eliminating barriers and friction. You know, one of the resounding things that we hear all the time from customers is the licensing is complex. Simplify the licensing, just make it easy for me. And so, you know, that's what we've done. And you think about when you go to a cloud, you have to have multiple management, you know, what was multiple products. So we brought them all together and then simplified the packaging. Said, listen, if you're going to go to a cloud, literally you can buy this single SKU per server, and then you have the ability to manage unlimited VMs. You know, as we've gone out and tested this and worked with the analysts and a number of customers, we actually get like spontaneous applause on this because it is simple. So instead of having, you know, to have, you know, people on your team who are dedicated to just trying to understand the licensing model from a Microsoft perspective in the cloud, it's just as simple as it's a physical server, that's System Center standard. If it's a virtualized or cloud server, that's System Center data center. And let me just kind of bring it home in terms of how significant that economic model is. You know, it's pretty common that we see organizations that are having, you know, 10, 12, 14, 15 VMs per server right now. That's very, very common. And one thing we know for sure is that the density of VMs every year gets higher and higher. You know, at an organization that has, say, 15 VMs on a server, our price differential to our major competitor VMware, we are 1/16 the cost. They're 16 times more expensive than us. And I would argue we're delivering a much greater overall solution with all of System Center. And you can scale that and use it as much as you want to on your server, and your costs stay the same.
So, Rand, I'm sure cost is one of the top questions that you get. So yes. Any reactions to what he's saying right now, given your experience with customers?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that organizations are trying to do is drive down costs. What we found with System Center, and really what we found in management for most organizations, they're running 5 or 10 different applications right now anyways. They're not using them very efficiently. They have a lot of expenses applied to them. And by going to a platform where they can manage their host servers, their virtual servers, their applications, their operating systems, their infrastructure, they've been able to actually drive those costs down. So we have actually, and gotten rid of 5, 6, 7 different tools as part of the process. So the cost offset there actually has been significant.
Is this a bottom line decision at its heart, or really is this idea, there's a bottom line consideration, but we know we need to go there? A little bit of both, maybe?
I think it is a little bit of both, because I think a lot of organizations are finding that the challenge they have is there's so much they have to manage, and the past has been go out and buy the best-of-breed tool for every single product. And that's how organizations ended up with 10 different tools. I think what they found now with System Center 2012 is that here's a product that actually does a lot of things extremely well. And so by going through and chipping away at their management structure that they have today, they can decrease those costs and really consolidate and make a total solution.
And we're hearing a lot about this, the steps we need to take to go on this journey to the cloud. And Jackie, I know that this month Microsoft published a CIO Network article about the need to realign the workforce in order to best serve customers. And this is your article, right? So what kind of organizational and skill changes are required for an IT organization to make this transition? Do you have to move people around? Do you have to reduce anything, amp up anything in terms of people and products?
So I think there are a couple of things. There's a thought around we're managing a service, and a service along, again, a whole ecosystem, and an environment where it's integrated, where you have to understand the effects of performance, scalability, agility. So the employee themselves, the IT employee, has to understand that. They also have to be able to govern and talk about, when I'm thinking about this service that I am offering to my clients, what are the components I need to put together? If there is a problem, where do I go? Who do I go to? If it's a service provider, what is the service provider going to do? So when you think about the employee, the IT employee, really, it's about a set of services, suite of tools, integratability.
And so training is a huge part of this.
Absolutely.
Learning ability is a huge part of this. Can you talk a little bit about that, how long that process takes? Once you get the systems in place, you have a people component to be concerned about.
Yeah, and the components span 3 different areas. Training, understanding the cloud services, tools, and products. Training in how you go to market, how you interact with your customer and your client. And then training to the point around interoperability, performance, reliability, all of those things.
And so is there generally some resistance, though, Rand, that you see with your customers, or people just say, hey, I'm in, let's go? I mean, it's probably a little bit of both.
It's that fear factor.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of the change is one of those things that customers are afraid of making those changes. And really the confusion over the last couple of years of cloud and everything that you've seen has been cloud, cloud, cloud. And I think that confusion leads to concerns. Really what it comes down to, though, is, and what we're finding for organizations when they really get settled into a good private cloud strategy, is when they sit down, look at all of the different systems that they have, and then sit down and look at a tool like System Center 2012 to be able to say, I have a tool that can actually meet my business needs.
Are people understanding the difference between public and private cloud?
I think that there's a better clarity today. And a year ago, it was very confusing of what is private, what is public cloud, and where it fits into the organizations. But I think organizations today are finding that they better understand it. And now, for those who don't have a good strategy, are now fearsome of, wow, now I just increased my capacity that I have to address the private cloud and the public cloud in my internal data center. But when they get the arms around it, it actually is something that they can handle.
Well, it's like an aha moment, or a light bulb goes on, or something like that, right?
That is key, right? that part of...
Sorry, I stole an Oprah phrase, didn't
Yes.
I? Okay, so I had a question here from the chat room I wanted to bring in because it's exactly what you were talking about. Someone from the chat room said, how should I think about which to use, when private or public cloud, in this hybrid world? So anybody?
I'll take it, I can take a stab at it in terms of how we from the design principle, but, in many ways, I think you're actually probably the voice of the customer we want to hear more than anything. To me, I think that long term, the destination the industry heads towards is the public cloud. If you read the book, The Big Switch, it gives a great example of the turn of the century and how power was generated and how long it took for organizations to start consuming power that was consumed by these large power plants rather than having their own power plant. And I think more than anything, that example applies very well in this world as well. There are some organizations who are very comfortable with the public cloud and are comfortable moving that out. What I would encourage people to do is, ask yourself the question first and foremost, can I move it to the public cloud? If you can, move to the public cloud, because the economics long term are just massive compared to running it in your own data center. If there are reasons why you have concern, maybe you have some regulatory reasons why you can't do that, run that in a private cloud, but then bring it all together with System Center and give yourself that opportunity to make the decision, what's right for you, be flexible, and then if the time comes you want to move either private to public or public to private, you have that with System Center. But I would say ask yourself the question, can I move it to the public cloud? Are there reasons why I would not? And if there's not, go to the public cloud as your first point.
And go ahead.
I think that most customers look at this as a journey, to your point. And I think when you think about the considerations, you ask yourself, is this a mission critical application? If it is, what are the considerations around mission critical? To your point around data, regulatory, whether it's secure, whether it's private, what types of data. Then you think about transaction processing, high volume, low volume transaction, and should I do that? So I think there are various considerations along the journey whether a client is comfortable in moving their data to public or private and their environment.
It sounds like you want to say something here.
No, well, along that whole line of the private and the public cloud, the key is to be able to manage both. And it's not just going through and saying, I want to go private or public. It's a matter of if you have the comfort level to say, I can manage the tools, I can manage my applications, I can manage my servers no matter where they are. And that kind of starts with the whole private cloud and the System Center family, is that I'm now able to actually go through, and I don't care where the data is. I don't care where the systems are. I can go through and handle it.
Well, that feels really good to hear about these things, but I know that more people are also asking more questions about cost and benefits and bottom line. So I want to take a question from one of our viewers via link. You guys ready for it? Okay.
Hi, I'm Pete Raustein with Group Health in Seattle. And my question is, we've already deployed to the private cloud, and we're looking for strategies or recommendations on how to further leverage that investment.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Maybe more than millions. We're in the billions now, maybe.
Well, you know, the return on investments is organizations are putting a lot into management tools. They're putting a lot into their systems. I think over the last couple of years, we've seen organizations virtualize everything, and they've seen a decrease in costs from physical to virtual. But what they haven't seen is all of a sudden you have the server sprawl. And they find it so easy to be able to build new and more virtual guest sessions, but they're not putting anything around it. And so the way they get the return on investment is to be able to get their arms around all of their different servers, monitor them, patch them, manage them, be able to go through and be dynamic in how you can handle that. And when they get the handle of it, that's when the return on investment shows up, because now they can actually measure what they're spending in the way of monitoring. They can determine whether a guest session is being used. And that server sprawl where they may be able to cut back 20-30% of the systems just because they know that 20-30% of the systems are being used.
Go ahead.
And the key is about understanding consumption and usage.
Absolutely.
So understanding your consumption, understanding your usage. And to your point, System Center making that easy from a billing perspective, understanding that enables that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, Jack,
I
go
just
ahead.
add one thing. You know, one of the most common questions that I hear when I meet, with a senior leader from my company is, how do I take all the knowledge that exists inside of Microsoft, whether that's in support or professional service or the engineering team, and get that to my teams? Yeah, and I think one of the new capabilities we have inside of System Center gives a really good, indication of how we think about this and where we're going to move to, but it also shows this connection with the public cloud and the private cloud. So one of the new capabilities of System Center is what we call Advisor. And what Advisor does, Advisor is entirely built on Azure, so the entire system is built upon our private cloud infrastructure, but it brings configuration data from our customer servers and our applications up into the cloud. We then have a constant feed that comes in from our services organization of things that they're finding around the world. And so, for example, here's a good example I talk with customers about. We could find an issue on a server in Melbourne, Australia. Put that into the system, then look at the configurations of all the servers around the world from our customers and actually proactively notify them of issues before it actually impacts them with a recommendation on how to address it. And it's a great marriage between private and public because all the data comes up into the public where we are then able to do all kinds of analysis, but then we can actually proactively notify customers before issues happen with servers and applications in their private cloud. And it's a wonderful, that's called the System Center Advisor.
So with all of this going on, and back to your point also, Ren, how quickly, Jackie, will we see these cost efficiencies per customer? It's variable, I understand that, but kind of give us an idea. How fast is this process?
So Microsoft, what I do is, I am Microsoft, as my team is, we do first and best, and we basically dog food Microsoft's products. And what we've seen, we've moved 50% of our production, development, and test environment into the private cloud. We've seen greater than 50% savings in our costs, our server costs, and we've also seen savings in our management costs.
And this is considered one of your best practices for your team,
absolutely.
right? Do you have some other best practices that you can share?
So I touched on the evaluation of the journey and how you take that journey. And when we think about it, we look at two components, the business readiness and the technical readiness. So whether your data is, I kind of touched on it before, whether your data is mission critical or not, whether your environment is high volume, low volume, what is the reliability, the security components. These are some of the things that we use when we develop our framework to go into the cloud.
We have another link question I'd like to get to, so can we see that?
This is Vince Kellen from the University of Kentucky. A question I had has to do with access to the cloud. We're in an environment in education where we have students coming in with lots of different devices from lots of different vendors, lots of different types of interfaces. What's Microsoft's perspective on supporting the diversity of consumer products as they access cloud?
Such a good question. This is the end-all be-all question of the consumerization of IT. So, Brad, do you want to have? I think you were very smiley about your daughter's cell phone. So.
Yeah, so I actually tell people I've got the best job in the company because I get to straddle what we're doing in the cloud, and I also get to straddle what we're doing in terms of device and desktop management, and really enabling organizations to embrace the consumerization of IT. So, not only today are we releasing into the release candidate of System Center 2012 for the private cloud, but we're also releasing the most significant release of our desktop and device management solution, System Center Configuration Manager, that we've ever done. Okay, so there's two main things that I would tell this viewer in the world about. One, we've completely changed the model, and instead of having the device at the center, everything that we've done now has the user at the center. So now IT can put policy that says, here's how I want to enable my users to be productive across all their devices. And so now in System Center Configuration Manager, we support the configuration of Windows like we've always done, but Windows Phone, the Apple operating systems, Android, and so all these consumer devices that are now coming in, IT can now set policy that applies to all those devices. And the policy is all centered on the user. And the whole product is about making that user productive and having the system intelligently deliver to them the applications based upon the device that they're working on.
Because so this might be, Jackie, the ultimate idea of management, because people are just going to bring in their devices. They're going to say, I want to use this, and this is all I want to use, because they want their home and their business in one. Nobody wants to carry around 5 devices for work and home as well. So is this the bane of the IT person's existence?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When the CEO comes to me and says, Jackie, I'm using this mobile device, and I need this on the device immediately.
And you go and you say, oh my goodness, I have a headache.
I turn around and say, be right there.
Good answer. So, and Rand, is this what you're seeing as well with your customers? I mean, they're bringing in everything. It's just what it is.
It is, and I think that's really what we've seen in the 2012 release of the products is that there's better support for a variety of different, whether it's hypervisors, VMware or Zen, in addition to Hyper-V, or then the mobile devices, the tablets that are out there. And the ability for us to be able to say, you don't have to have 5 different products to manage all these things. Come set up and implement System Center 2012. We can be able to go through and implement these the technologies to be able to do the patching, the updating, the monitoring of all of these different devices.
Who needs to sweat all that stuff?
Well,
nobody, right?
That's how you lower the cost, is you decrease the cost by going through and managing everything with a single platform. And it also helps, as Brad mentioned, the compliance aspects of it, is that you can't have a single policy when you have 5 different tools and 5 different policies managing these different applications.
Perfect. All right. Well, we have a chat room question coming in. Also, Brad mentioned that managing hypervisors, customers have mixed heterogeneous environments. So how does the MS Private Cloud address this?
Yeah, so let me just take that, and I'll talk about it from an architectural perspective. You know, so from the ground up, you know, one of the things we talk about with the differentiators for the Microsoft Private Cloud is we actually say designed to be hybrid from the ground up. So inside of System Center, literally, we have taken, we've separated out the logic from the underlying hypervisor. And so what that allows us to do is we build all this rich logic and capabilities, and then we have a provider model. So there's a provider for Hyper-V and one for VMware and one for Zen and one for Azure. And we can add additional virtualization infrastructures in there. But it just gives us the ability to be able to bring all these different hypervisors together. And we've done it in a way that not only can we just, you know, support multiple hypervisors, but you could take capacity from multiple hypervisors and bring it together in a single private cloud. And then the system is intelligent enough to know that if you're going to move a VM, you know, from one server to another, it's intelligent enough to know which servers it can direct you to or automatically do that based upon our knowledge of the hypervisors. So literally, we have designed it from the ground up to be multiple hypervisors. And this is a unique position for Microsoft, because now in our battle, in the competitive battle that we have with our main competitor, we're the heterogeneous provider and they're not.
Well, clearly, Brad is excited about this topic and all the possibilities involved. In terms of excitement around this, and you think about, Jackie, with you think about what we couldn't do 5 years ago versus what we can do now. Give me an idea of where you sit as you look over and you preside over this really critical piece in IT.
So I think 5 years ago, I would go and talk about what application I'm putting where. I'd go through a long life cycle. I'd analyze my environment. I'd analyze where I'm going to put it, what server. I'd have to go out and talk to the operations folks about where I'm going to put it. Today, I'm going to scale up very quickly. I don't care where. I'm going to have a self-service process where I say, I want to scale up today. Tomorrow, I may want to scale down because this environment's high volume this month, but next month it isn't. And I don't care. I don't have to worry about the volume stats around the transactions today because my environment is scalable. So fundamentally different in terms of how I think about how I'm going to build up an environment, application, etc.
And so, Rand, for you, when customers hear about this entire process and they actually go down this path of the cloud, and then it's working like you just described, is it just, I can't believe I didn't do this a little bit sooner, or what's the reaction?
Well, I think that everybody likes to be able to go through and have an end result that's successful. And really part of the evaluation process is to be able to test it, put it in place, try it against the different tools and management platforms that the organization has, and make it do the things that they want it to do. And so, yes, it is one of those, wow, this actually works.
All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for being here. Jackie, Rand, Brad, nice to see you still hanging around. Encourage your teams to evaluate the Microsoft Private Cloud with the new System Center 2012 RC. Conduct an assessment of your current infrastructure and its readiness for the transition to private cloud. Download a white paper and find out about the training and learning opportunities Microsoft is providing to help your teams start today. All of this is explained on the Microsoft Private Cloud website. Up next, we experience how Microsoft Private Cloud helps us take on challenges and adds efficiency to productivity. Be sure to stay tuned to see the Microsoft Private Cloud in action through the Microsoft Technology Center. That's coming up next. But now, let's take a look at some quick comments from one enterprise betting on the Microsoft Private Cloud today, Lufthansa Airlines.
As one of the leading IT service providers for the global aviation industry, Lufthansa Systems has a very complex IT infrastructure to manage. We are now moving to a private cloud model, which allows us to manage this complexity more effectively and ensure that we are providing the best service possible. We expect to see our management tools acting as the umbrella over the whole infrastructure across multiple divisions and platforms. The Microsoft Private Cloud works across these platforms and help bring them together. This will enable us to automate and control many key processes, making us more responsive to our customers' needs. Lufthansa Systems has already deployed Windows Server with Hyper-V, and we have 1,500 virtual machines in production today. We are already using System Center to give us deep insight into our infrastructure. By moving ahead with System Center 2012, we expect to expand our capabilities and achieve deeper application insight. This is what ultimately matters, our applications. Plus, with all the pieces of System Center 2012 working together, we get all benefits and a complete platform view with the best economics. Our goal is also to include public cloud infrastructure along with our highly managed private cloud. We expect that Windows Azure will be a key part of our strategy, and System Center will allow us to manage our applications across these environments. It is clear to us at Lufthansa Systems that the cloud model is the key to our IT success in the future, giving us the foundation to seamlessly expand our infrastructure.
Hi there, meet April. April is under a lot of pressure. She is stressed out. She has to deploy a new finance application in the next couple of weeks. She's pretty worried because this type of thing usually takes months and can be very complicated, very inefficient. Well, now I want you to meet Julian. He's the one who will make this problem go away with a Microsoft Private Cloud solution that provides more agility and customization on terms that work for April. Coming up right now, we'll look at how IT can respond to critical, time-sensitive business needs like you've never seen before. Microsoft has 25 technology centers worldwide to help you, our customers, and our partners see firsthand how Microsoft's platform and partner solutions can help get business done. With me is Mike Jenny, an MTC technology architect. Hi there, Mike.
Hello, Christine.
Thanks for being here. We're looking forward to speaking with you.
Thanks.
All right, great. Well, he's going to connect the dots for us, essentially help us understand how Microsoft Private Cloud solutions can help us face and solve challenges pretty easily and efficiently. And for this event, we have experts on hand, live, to answer your questions in real time. So fire off any questions as they come up for you. In addition to our experts, we have a wealth of resources for you to investigate. These are brought to you by our global partners. So, Mike, what we're going to be seeing are real IT scenarios, things that happen every single day, right?
Right. The scenarios that we see happen every day, but really what doesn't happen every day yet is the solution that we're going to see. And that solution brought to us by the Microsoft Private Cloud offering. So what we're going to end up seeing is a subset of the System Center suite of products and how those products integrate together and allow individuals like April and Julian to both accomplish their individual goals.
Right, so essentially how everything works in a very comprehensive way, and that's pretty key as we're going to go through today. All right, so let's go back to April to get it started. Now remember, she's stressed out. She's the finance IT lead. She has to get the new finance tracker deployed and fast. This is a tall order, so let's check in with April.
Today, my application is sitting in a pre-production environment, and we're really excited to get this application off the ground. Now, the team's been testing to make sure that it's running well, and with testing almost complete, we want to get our deployment scheduled. You know, the last time we had an application deployment, it was a long process filled with emails and back and forth with IT, and I'm getting really nervous. Now, I've submitted my service request earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and contact Julian, our IT person on hand, just to make sure that he has everything he needs so I can have my production environment for our new application.
Hello, April.
Hey, Julian, how are you?
Great. How's New York?
It's going great, but I got to tell you, we're under a lot of pressure out here to get our new application finance tracker off the ground. And I've submitted a service request, and I know that you're the person on point to ensure that we get our final production environment created. So, how's it going?
Yeah, I saw your request. How much time do you need? When do you plan to deploy this application?
Well, we'd like to get this application off the ground in the next few weeks, and I want to make sure that we don't go over schedule. So, is that something you can help me with?
Oh, I think I can do it much faster than that.
Wow. All right. Well, do you have all the components that you need? Have any questions?
I'm pretty sure I have all the information that I need, but are you going to be online later on just in case I have some questions for you?
Yeah, I'll be online today, so just let me know if you need anything.
No problem.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
I see her request in the System Center screen, but I also see a higher priority ticket. Let me just take a look at what this is. Oh, this is actually very much related. The private cloud environment that I'm going to use to deploy for April is actually hosted in one of our data centers, and we're monitoring all of our data centers with System Center. All the physical equipment, the virtual applications, and the physical applications installed. What it's telling me is that one of my clusters that I was planning to use is running out of capacity. And this is very important for me to know because I don't want to impact other environments when I provision an environment for April. What's more important is that System Center allows me to automatically create this type of change request and maintain my ITIL compliance processes. We used to have a very manual process for extending the physical infrastructure, but we're actually going to implement an automated process as well. And I happen to convert one of our manual processes into the automated process using System Center. And I'm going to test this scenario right now. All I have to do is specify one of the systems that I know is already racked in my data center. And because I'm testing it, I am kicking it off manually, but of course I can convert it later once we're comfortable with the process to be triggered automatically on the creation of the change request. I can see everything that's happening, and while it's provisioning a new node, it will actually record everything in the change tracking log, again helping my ITIL process compliance status. I can also continuously improve this process by monitoring any steps in the process that take longer than I expect. And that way I can improve the response time to my business.
So Mike, this is happening really quickly. What did we just see?
So what we just saw, two very common scenarios. First, I have someone from the business, in this case April, who's in the finance department. She's making a request of IT for service. In this case, she needs to get her application deployed, sounds like sooner rather than later. The second thing that we saw is Julian, that data center manager, he's dealing with this issue of capacity, right? He saw that his environment was starting to reach a threshold that he had previously set, so he's going to start the process of actually provisioning additional capacity into his data center for both April's application, but also for the good of all the private clouds that are deployed within his environment.
And Microsoft tackles this problem in a very different way. Could you explain?
Sure. I'll explain it by breaking it down into 4 areas. And the first and foremost, we like to say that when it comes to private clouds, it's all about the application. And we'll see later on as we see how this application is deployed, how Microsoft's private cloud solution kind of comes together and provides an easy way to deploy the application. Because at the end of the day, that's the real business need here, is getting that application deployed.
And now what I also understand is that this works across all platforms, and I know you guys have a special reason for doing that.
Right. So we like to say cross-platform from the metal up, and what we mean by that is not just being able to manage other hypervisors like VMware and Citrix, but also deep integration into our partner ecosphere with technologies like storage and networking, because when we talk about private clouds, some of the key components that I need are things like automation as well as elasticity. And in order to accomplish those 2 things, I need to have tight integration with that, really the entire ecosystem within my data center.
What I'm also noticing is Julian is really starting to lay the groundwork to handle this whole problem for April on April's terms. Can you get into that a little bit?
Sure. So what that is going to entail is the provisioning of a sliver of the data center for April and her department. That sliver, we'll term that a private cloud. And then Julian will empower April to have control over that private cloud environment to be able to do things like deploy her application on her terms.
And this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where she is or where he is. This is all working in synchronicity no matter where they are. Is that correct?
Right. The idea of having to be close proximity to a data center, those days are really gone. In this case, my data center could be on one side of the country or the globe and my users on the other, or my business unit on the other. It's really not important.
It doesn't really matter anymore, right? So if you're just joining us, here's what we've been watching. We have April, who's a finance IT lead, and she has to deploy a new application within a matter of weeks. This is extremely stressful for her. Julian is the data center IT guy. He's the lead there taking care of this whole problem. And I think what we're going to see next year, Mike, is that he's starting to assemble the ingredients to make this all happen. This is the next step, correct?
Right. The first step in the process is actually creating a private cloud, and what we're going to see is those key ingredients that Julian has to assemble and configure, so to speak, and then we'll see how he delegates that private cloud to the finance department, or more specifically April.
Okay, so let's get behind a little bit more of the magic right now and check in once again with Julian to see what's happening.
I have a lot of different hardware providers in my data center, and I need my private cloud management environment to support all of them. In this case, I have various storage types in storage providers, and I have actually classified them based on the performance characteristics for each storage. I'm actually going to use gold level storage for the production environment that April wants. That's based on our previous discussions with her. But also in our production environment, we recommend having at least 2 web front-end servers for load balancing. And I need to manage my load balancer so that it automatically configures it when April deploys the application. So System Center allows me to bring all these different hardware components that exist in my data center into one single pane. In fact, I can even manage multiple virtualization providers that I still have in my data center, such as VMware and Citrix.
It's pretty incredible what we're watching, Mike. Did he say something about gold?
Sure. So common analogy within data centers to have different levels of storage from a price perspective. So imagine having a platinum being my most expensive, most performant, gold maybe being kind of middle of the road, and then bronze being my least expensive, least performant storage. It sounds like in this case, through their testing, they've determined that that gold tier, that kind of middle of the road tier, is going to service the needs of April's app and provide the storage capabilities that she needs.
So it sounds like it's exactly what she needs, and this is part of the unified, comprehensive way that Microsoft approaches these problems. Is that correct?
Right. It's a good example where we're integrating with our storage partners to help automate some of the commonly performed tasks that need to occur in order to kind of bring this private cloud idea to a reality.
So idea going to reality, a lot of components are coming together, and I think let's go through the steps with Julian right now.
Now that I have all the components defined, let's see how I can create a private cloud environment for production application. System Center allows me to combine all these components through a simple method. I'm going to allow it to run on any of my devices. But because this application is externally accessible, I'm going to automatically attach this application to external network. And based on what I discussed about our requirements for multiple servers on the front end, I'm going to let the system automatically configure load balancer to do that. And I have predefined load balancing rules for that. Like I mentioned, I'm going to allow this application to run on the Gold level storage. And if I want, I can limit how much the resources this application takes, but I'm actually going to take our default approach. And of course, as I said, it can run on multiple different hypervisor technologies. In this case, we standardize on Hyper-V. Everything I do is recorded and audited, so I can always report and go back and see exactly what has changed. So this was my personal best at creating private cloud. I think I have time to call Guinness World Records. The only other thing that I have to do is allow finance department to be able to use this private cloud. I already have a finance role predefined, and finance admins from my Active Directory is in there, and all I have to do is allow finance production environment to be managed by this group. And I'm done.
Mike, Julian is so calm, cool, and collected. What does April have now that she didn't have before that he just did so easily?
So technically what she has is she has her own little private cloud in their environment. So think of it as her own little sliver of the data center. She's got compute resources. Sounds like Julian included some network load balancing, so some network technology, some storage. So she has the capability to deploy her application. But remember, it's all about the app. And we haven't gotten to the application yet, so that's what's coming up next.
That's what we're going to see next. I think it is time to see it in action, but I just want to make sure I understand. This is really all created just for April. That's that unified solution, comprehensive, customized.
Right.
Very special to Microsoft. You want to see it in action? Let's go back to Julian. Okay.
I was working with April's team when they were developing application. And I was able to understand exactly what requirements they need. And using System Center, I am able to define this in a simple to see model. I'm going to check on the template to make sure that it's compliant with our standards. Now, I know that in production environment, we actually need more than one server. So I'm going to increase this in my template and start with 2 servers. Now, when I start with 2 servers, I, of course, need to add my load balancer in that. And that's how simple it is for me to do. Before I actually save this template, I would like to check with April to make sure that she's OK with my changes. So I'm going to call her.
Hey, Julian, how's it going over there?
Great. I'm almost done. I just have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
When I worked with your developers during the dev cycle, we agreed on the infrastructure needs that you'll have. But in production environment, we actually recommend to have 2 web servers in order to load balance them. Are you OK with that?
Julian, you need to do whatever you can do to make sure that we can deploy this on time. So 2 web servers it is. Let's do it.
OK, no problem. I will actually configure it to start with 2, but grow automatically up to 5.
Sounds amazing.
OK, I will be done in a few minutes.
Wow. All right, I'll give you a call a little bit later just to check in with you.
Thanks, April.
All right, bye.
So Julian seemed to think that template was critical. He thought enough of it to call her and just make sure that it was OK. Why is the template so important, and why is Microsoft different?
So we are very different in that case. What the service template allows us to do is really model the application. In this case, it's the finance tracker application that April is so concerned about. And by having a model for the application, it allows us to deploy it in a very repeatable sense. So any business unit owner out there that has ever took an application through its life cycle from test, dev, and then into production has dealt with this challenge of, I deploy it once, it works, I deploy it again, something's not quite the same. So this service template allows repeatability, and also, as we saw with Julian, it provides the way to configure how we want this service to grow, going back to that elasticity. How do I want it to grow over time? And in this case, the number of web front-end servers initially will be configured with 2, but as I meet performance thresholds, I can automatically grow that tier up to 5.
So reliability and then also scalability. Did you hear him say just a couple of minutes?
Yes.
Okay. I think we should check in because that's talking some game. Let's check in with Julian.
Okay, so I created a private cloud environment, and I modified the application in order to comply with our standards for production environments. But I also have to make sure that our automated process for extending the host environment has finished before I allow April to deploy the application. So let me just double check on my production cluster. And yes, I actually see a third node that has joined my cluster. And that way, my physical environment is ready for the virtual deployment of the application.
Julian said he was going to have this done in a couple of minutes. I don't believe him. I'm going to go ahead and give him a call to see if he's really going to make this happen today. Julian.
What's going on?
Julian, I'm freaking out over here. How's it going over there?
Oh, it's going to take another 2 months.
Julian, no, we can't do that.
Kidding. I'm all done, so let me, if you share your desktop, I can actually show you how you can do it.
Julian, you said you're all done.
I am all done.
I got to see this. Let me share my desktop real quick.
So go in the web browser.
Yeah.
And you can see that now you have access to the Finance Production. So click on Finance Production Cloud.
Got it.
And click on Deploy.
Got it.
VMM Service.
Yeah.
And choose a template.
All right.
Make sure you choose the production version, 0.9.
Got it.
Wait. Are you ready?
Julian, I don't know. I mean, if we can get this done ahead of schedule, like, I've got butterflies in my stomach here.
Are you sure you're ready?
I think I'm ready. Can we just see if it works?
Okay. Click OK.
Wow.
And this is your app.
Wow. I'm excited. Like, I just can't believe that we can get this done on time. In fact, we're doing it ahead of schedule. Julian, this is amazing.
Whenever you're ready, you can hit the Start Deployment button, and you'll be all set to go.
Julian, you're amazing. Next time you're in New York, beers are on me.
Great. I like wine, but beer's okay too.
Whatever you need.
Great.
Bye. Woo!
So, Mike, we need to find out where this celebration is happening, because clearly there is a celebration that is happening.
Indeed.
This was great. Over the past couple of minutes, we've really seen Microsoft's private cloud in action. Can we go over again exactly what happened, the components to it?
Sure. At a high level, what we saw, 4 key areas. First and foremost, all about the application. So the business need that April had, getting that application deployed, we've seen how Microsoft's private cloud solution will empower April to deploy that app on her terms, which is another one of those key tenets. The other 2 things that we saw involve, cross-platform from the metal up. We saw Julian, being able to manage and monitor other hypervisors, VMware and Citrix, but also that tight integration between the Microsoft solution and the broader data center ecosystem, including our networking partners and storage partners.
So everything's comprehensive.
Right.
Okay. So also, this is best in class, right?
Right. So the application in question that we're deploying, this Finance Tracker application, this is a workload that we, Microsoft, feel is best virtualized on the Microsoft platform.
Sounds good. Mike, you've been such a huge help today. Did you have a good time?
I did.
This was a lot of fun. I also think that we should give some applause to our Academy Award winning performers, Julian, aka Alex. Great job. And also April, aka Deanna. And thank you to our MTC partners. Thank you to our audience for participating today. If you'd like to know more about Microsoft's private cloud solution, be sure to complete your evaluation form, where you can request a strategy briefing for the private cloud at an MTC near you. Stay tuned. Your chance to win an Xbox 360 Connect is up next. Don't go anywhere. But first, we'll take a look at how one corporation is betting their investment in private cloud can help them double their business without growing their environmental footprint.
Unilever is a multinational corporation with 167,000 employees in over 100 countries. We view IT as a crucial enabler of the business, supporting our future plans for the growth of the business. Unilever has set a goal of doubling the size of the business without increasing its environmental footprint. We have found that virtualization is not enough to meet these goals. As a result, we're moving beyond virtualization to a private cloud infrastructure, while still getting the full benefits of our current investments. The private cloud model will give us increased agility moving forward, enabling us to respond more quickly to the needs of the business. Across the industry, IT is increasingly expected to provide capacity very rapidly, while at the same time continuing to maintain high levels of service. The System Center management tools offer Unilever an integrated platform to monitor both infrastructure and applications. Using System Center 2012, we expect to be able to automate many repetitive tasks, which will allow us to focus on service improvements. Working with Avanade and Microsoft, Unilever has deployed more than 2,000 VMs on Windows Server Hyper-V. And today we continue to partner with Avanade and Microsoft in driving increased efficiency in the management of the infrastructure, increasing our ability to support Unilever's growth.
Today we discussed one of the biggest transformations affecting IT today, cloud computing. We looked at the ways cloud computing is changing the way we think about IT and the way we do IT. Beyond helping companies become more agile and innovative, cloud computing is economical, driving efficiencies in both costs and utilization. We hope the information shared today address your questions and reveal the opportunities with cloud computing. We've put together several resources for you, including the private cloud assessment, software evaluation, and white paper. These are available here on this event site and at Microsoft.com/privatecloud. Please take a moment to let us know what you think about this virtual event. The link to the evaluation directly below the video player. Complete the evaluation now for a chance to win an Xbox 360 Connect. And don't forget, this entire event will be available on demand right here within the next 30 minutes. Thank you again for attending today. Until next time, Christine Chen logging off.